We're two sisters who believe that the purpose of life is to enjoy, create, and have fun. We believe that as humans, we can have anything we want, and things are always working out for us. Experience has taught us that the path to getting everything we want begins with ease. If you believe in miracles and happily ever after, or even if you just want to, then this is the podcast for you. Hi there, I'm your host, Kayla Rain.
I'm your co-host, Adria Shea.
And welcome back to Attract It With Ease. Hello, Adria. How are you tonight?
Hi, I'm doing well, Kayla. How are you?
I'm so good. Tonight's episode is something I'm really passionate about. Not like I'm not on all of the others, but but I'm really excited about our topic this evening. So tell me what you're grateful for so we can jump into our content.
Okay, well, I too am excited about our topic this evening. So I can't wait to get to that. But the first thing I'm very grateful for, I'm really grateful for my job. And I don't know if you're surprised to hear me say that or not, because I don't say that often enough. But I have a job that is intellectually stimulating. It provides lots of variety. It gives me tons of flexibility. And as you know, right now, we're even working from home because of COVID. But even before that, I have quite a bit of flexibility as far as when I get my work done, meaning what time I start and end, or, you know, if I need to leave early or I have an appointment in the middle of the day. And it pays more than any job I've had before now. So there are so many great things about my job, and I'm really, really grateful for it.
Can I have your job? It sounds amazing.
Clearly, I haven't vented about my job enough, because there are some stressful aspects. But when I stop and think about it, my job has so many really, really positive aspects to it. So
I love it.
I like my job a lot. No, you may not have my job. I am really grateful that we had a yard to play in the summer growing up and in the winter. But I have memories of us pretending we were pioneers in the backyard. Wow. Basically playing outside in the sun all day, making mud cakes, eating bark off the fence between our house and Robinson's. There was I hope Robinsons are not listening to this. Or I hope they'll forgive us. But you could pull at some of the wood in the fence, and further inside, it was a little more tender, so you could chew on it a little bit and pretend it was Pioneer chewing gum.
Oh my goodness.
We would get kernels of corn from the garden and leave them in the sun all day long, and never once did they pop. But I was always hopeful that we could make Pioneer popcorn just from the heat and the dried up corn kernels from the garden.
So I'm going to explain for our listeners, when Adria says we, she's not talking about she and I. I don't have these memories.
Were you not there? Dang it.
No.
I'm sorry.
Our next, well, it was probably Marcy, the next in line.
Yeah, definitely Marcy and Shalise. And I thought it was all of you guys, but maybe you were too little.
If I was involved, I don't remember, but I do have really fond memories of playing in the yard. That's a good one. I haven't thought about the house we grew up in many years. So thank you.
Yeah, I know not everyone lives in a place where they have a yard with room for playing. And, we had grass, we had a swing set, we had a place to build snow forts. It wasn't huge by any means, but I have some really good memories as a child of playing in that yard. And then the last one is, I am grateful for my name. And I haven't always felt that way. I have always had to spell my name from the time I was a little kid. And we always had to spell our last name too, because we had a very complicated last name.
Don't tell what it is.
So I have not always loved my name, because usually when I tell people my name's Adria, then I have to repeat myself. And, they think it's Andrea or Adrian or something. But the older I get, the more I like having a unique name. And when I call somebody and say, hey, it's Adria, if it's somebody that I know, they know who I am. They're not trying to go through all the Adrias that they know to figure out who's on the phone. So I'm grateful for that as well.
I love it. I used to have a really unique name. And then the year that my son was born, the name Kayla was the sixth most popular name in the English name book or something
Oh,
that
that's
year.
crazy.
And now there
That's
are a lot of
crazy.
people named Kayla. I don't know any other Adrias though. So you have a good one. I agree. All right. So here's mine. I'm grateful for the heater that we have in our tiny house.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not a space heater. It's one of those coil oil heaters, but it heats so well and maintains temperature really well. And we don't have the concern of leaving it on when we're not home the way that you would with a space heater. But as listeners probably know, I live in a really tiny house, and it's nice in these colder months to have a heater that's reliable that can keep our space warm because we don't have traditional HVAC here. So it's pretty awesome. I love it. A couple weeks back, I talked about being grateful for my phone and all the apps on the phone, but there's one in particular that I'm going to point out today. I'm really grateful for the Notes app in my phone because I write down everything in there. I write down ideas for the podcast. I write down my shopping list because if I write it on paper, it never fails. I leave it at home. But I rarely leave my phone at home. So it allows me to have it with me. I've been writing my marriage vows. Don't tell Dan, but they're saved in the Notes app on my phone. We'll see if
I
he's
love it.
listening. But yeah, I love that app. I'm really appreciative of it. It helps me be able to hang on to things and not have to keep track of lots of little bits of paper. Plus, if you know anything about me, I am such a tree fanatic that I have a hard time using paper if I don't need to. So I love that app. And then number 3, so Reese's peanut butter cups recently came out with a new version that I'm obsessed with.
What?
It's the big cups with the pretzel in it. Have you tried it?
No, I
Oh
haven't
my
seen them.
gosh. It's not even like a full pretzel. It's pretzel bites, but it's the giant Reese's peanut butter cup. So it's extra big and thick.
Ooh, yum.
And in the peanut butter is bits of pretzel pizza pieces. And I'm not even a big pretzel fan. I'm not a person that will snack on pretzels normally, but these are just tiny little bits of pretzels. And then it has the salt in there and it is crunchy like toffee would be on the inside, but it's got just a little bit of salt. So, so good. I'm obsessed.
It
I
sounds
have had
amazing.
one every night for the past few days because I can't get over it. So good. So, listeners, if you haven't tried that, if you're a Reese's fan, check it out. You will thank me. All right. So, let's jump into this week's episode because I know both of us are excited. It's something we're both very passionate about. And this is basically getting rid of stuff.
I do love to get rid of things.
I'll bet most people don't love to get rid of things. I think we love to hang on to things. So I've struggled even deciding what to call this episode because I have so many different thoughts about it. And I'm sure initially people are thinking, oh, brother, here we go. This is a girl who lives in a tiny house and she's going to tell me to get rid of all of my things and move tiny. And that's not at all where I'm going with this. This is about how the things we own weigh us down. And it is a physical, emotion that we have attached to our stuff. And the funny thing is, we usually don't even recognize it until one of two things happens. Either number one, we do get rid of it because we feel this release when we let go. So until you do that, you don't really realize how much it was weighing on you until you do get rid of it. Or number two, when you move. When you move, then you know how much it weighs on you because it's so overwhelming. Every time you move, it's like, oh my gosh, why do I have so much stuff? Why do we carry all of this around? We just move it from house to house to place. And anyone that's moved recently knows exactly what I'm talking about. Those are the two times that you realize the physical weight that your things have on you. So I want to talk about that today. And I also want to talk about how that relates to the law of attraction, because it seems silly, but it actually does. So let's talk about it for just a second. Let's talk about how our stuff weighs us down. Adria, when I say that our stuff weighs us down, tell me what you think I mean by that.
I have found that having stuff, the more stuff I own, the more mental clutter I have for some reason that I can't even explain. And like you said, I realize that most when I get rid of stuff, and then suddenly I feel so much lighter, and I'm like, wow, how could that have an impact on my mental health?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
So some of the ways that our stuff weighs us down, number one is we have to keep it organized. So the more things that you have, the harder it is to organize things, meaning sometimes it becomes difficult to find a place for everything, or your house is messier because you have more things. I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast probably has a junk drawer or some closet or cupboard or space in their house.
Wait, I don't. I do not have a junk drawer or a
okay, but
junk
let me
closet.
ask you, before you moved into your current place, did you have a junk drawer?
Yes, more than one.
Exactly. Adria
it's like a catch-all place. So it's not that just that you're keeping junk. It's a place for everything that doesn't have a place. So It all gets put together.
And maybe you don't even call it junk. People refer to it as a junk drawer, but maybe you don't think anything in there is junk. It's just you don't have a place to put all these things. The kinds of things that go in this drawer are Post-it notes and Sharpies and business cards and menus for eating out and coins from other countries and
right.
I mean, I don't even know.
Candles and
batteries.
Dental floss.
Yes, all the things that don't have a place. So we can all relate to that piece. And Adria, what she's saying where she doesn't have one, it's not really fair, because she recently, and I say recently because it's been in the last year, she recently went through downsizing and this whole decluttering process. But I do want to talk about it because we know what it's like to feel like our place is a mess. Some of us, that's rare. Some of us, that's a constant thing. But that weighs on us. When you come home and your house feels messy, that feels yucky. And you realize that if you walk into your bedroom and you can't see the floor, or there's clothes everywhere, or there's laundry in a pile. I mean, I don't know what your house looks like. And I'm not talking about you, Adria. I don't know what your house looks like, Adria, but I don't know what our listeners' house looks like for real. I have no idea what your room looks like. You could be super neat, super tidy, or you could live in a disaster. But you know what I mean when you come home and things are messy and how that makes you feel. It has this physical weight on you and it makes you feel overwhelmed. You don't want to clean, or you feel like you need to clean because you can't handle the way it feels to be in the mess. Any of those are weight on you. So there's that piece. There's also the fact that when we have stuff, it physically fills the space around us. And so it's literally like the walls closing in on us. You can understand what I mean when let's say you have a walk-in closet, when you go into your walk-in closet and it's like jam-packed and you don't know where something is, or you have to get something off a shelf and you have to kind of worry that things are going to fall down on you because it's piled so high, or there's a stack of boxes and you have to get to the box in the middle or the box on the bottom and you're worried the boxes are going to fall on you. Like, it literally is the walls closing in on you. And I'm not trying to sell the idea of a minimalist lifestyle. I'm not trying to talk people into going tiny. I'm trying to give people a sense of how the stuff we own is heavy and has an impact on us physically and mentally. So I think we've kind of covered that a little bit. So here's the problem. Here's the big issue that I have with stuff. Most of us hang on to stuff that we haven't used in the last 12 months. There are listeners on here who have Christmas wrapping paper in a closet somewhere that they didn't even use this last Christmas, and it's just sitting in the closet. Gift bags that were planning to regift to somebody else sitting in a closet. Jeans that used to fit us 2 or 3 or 5 years ago that we're hanging on to because we know we're going to get back down to that size and we're going to wear them again. Well, side note, they're probably not going to be in style when you do get down to that size. So you probably should get rid of them, but that's just an asterisk. But we hang on to these things that we don't need. For me, before I went tiny, one of the things that I had an issue with was makeup samples. I had all these different lipsticks I'd never worn. I had all these different face creams and scrubs and face masks and whatever in like a bin because I thought one day I'm going to want to try this or I want to use this and then you never do because number one, you forget about it. But number two, it's like when you run out of something, you go buy something, you don't use the sample that's sitting in your drawer. And so I just had all this makeup stuff that was just stuff that was never going to be used. I convinced myself I was going to use it, but I never used it. In fact, sometimes I would regift it, but I wouldn't use it for me. I would have pairs of shoes that went with one thing, one dress, a pair of heels that matched one dress that I would wear once every 3 years. And yet I felt like I needed the dress and the shoes. And these are the things that we hang on to. This is my issue with stuff, is we hang on to things that we're not using. And now let's talk about how this relates to the law of attraction. When you hang on to things that you don't need because you think you're going to use it in the future, like those jeans that haven't fit you in 3 years that you know are going to fit you as soon as you lose the weight, really what you're telling the universe is that you don't trust the universe to replace it. You are in that mode of not believing that you can receive. You're in that lack mindset. And what I mean by that is those jeans don't fit you today, so you don't need them today. And if you really 100% truly believe you're going to get into that size again where those jeans will fit you, you're telling the universe, when I'm that size, I don't believe that I'll be able to afford new jeans. I don't believe that you will replace those jeans. So I better hang on to these jeans. It's like the old wrapping paper. I don't believe that in 2 years, when I intend to use this wrapping paper that I've been hanging on to for 2 years, that I will be able to afford new wrapping paper. I mean, it's such a minimal thing, wrapping paper. But yet we hang on to these things because we believe we need it. We believe we're going to use it. We believe the day will come. And so we fill our lives with these things. But really, just like we talked about on our last episode, where we create this unintentional resistance, we're creating this resistance where we're telling the universe, I don't trust you. I don't trust you to take care of me. I don't trust you to replace this. And so because of that, I have to hang on to it. It's just like squandering your money. It's like getting a paycheck and feeling like you can't spend a dime because you don't know when you're going to get any more. Well, what are you telling the universe? That you don't get money. You don't get money often, so you better hang on to it. It's the same thing. Adria, pipe in here and tell me what you think about that idea that hanging on to things actually puts us in a resistance mode.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I'm thinking about the things. I don't hang on to a lot of things because I don't have a lot of space, but I'm thinking about the things I do save and why. And I think that you're right. Sorry, I'm just caught up in my thoughts. Yeah, I think it's assuming. I think you're right. I think it's coming from almost a place of, it's like the opposite of abundance. Like you said, it's kind of a scarcity mindset.
Yes.
Like, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to replace this. And so I have to hold it right now. And so it's coming from a place of fear. And then we're just attracting negativity, or I'm attracting negativity if I'm viewing the world that way.
Yeah.
Almost from a stingy mindset.
Exactly. And it's funny because it's these nuances that we don't label ourselves as being a stingy person. We don't think that we're doing anything wrong. In fact, we think that it's positive. It's like, oh, one day I'm going to need a rubber band. So I might as well hang on to this rubber band because then I don't have to go out and buy one. But we tend to just fill our space with these things. And these things, like I said, weigh us down. And so not only does it put us in that negative space where we're telling the universe, look, I don't believe you will replace this. I don't believe that you will bring me more. It is that mindset of lack and scarcity, but it also does not create space for the things that we're asking for. That's a piece we haven't really talked about yet. We did talk on a prior episode about doing everything you can with what you have from where you're at. And we talked about things like making room in the garage for that car you're working towards, cleaning out your garage and trying to, make space for the second car.
Yeah.
But that's the whole piece of this, is that how in the world can we make space for more if we are cluttering up the space? Like, we're not making space unless we physically are making space. It's not a mental thing like, oh, I mean, it is mental too, but when we say make space, we're not just saying, prepare yourself mentally. We're talking about like make space. If you're in a relationship, how can you expect the new relationship until you get out of the relationship? If you're expecting this new car, where are you going to put it if you don't have anywhere to park it? Oh my gosh, this has me thinking about garages. Oh, when we moved tiny, we lived pretty tiny. Before moving into Hank, our tiny house, we lived in 1,100 square feet with a 2-car garage. And our garage was very well organized, but full to the brim. Like 2 whole walls of the garage was shelving filled with Rubbermaid bins full of tools and decorations and camping gear and all of these things. And when we decided that we were going to transition to tiny house living, we knew we were going to have to downsize. And we literally got rid of over 80% of what we owned. We still have a lot in storage, more than I would like to have in storage. But certain things like my Ray Dunn collection I talked about before that I wasn't willing to just get rid of because it is collectibles. But yeah, when I think about going through that stuff, I suffer from anxiety, and I had multiple panic attacks just downsizing. And it wasn't the stress of letting go. For me, it was literally the stress of, oh my gosh, I have to sort through all of these things. I have to look at items one by one and decide what is worth keeping and what has to go. And I kept having panic attacks from it where I would just shut down and I can't even explain it. If you haven't experienced that, Nader, I know you have. I know you've gone through that because you went through that recently. You lived in a house and now you live in essentially a bedroom.
A bedroom.
Right.
Essentially.
So you got rid of a lot, and you did it in a much faster time frame than I did. So I don't know that you, and maybe you did, I don't know that you literally went item by item through your house, or if you kind of categorized what you could get rid of. For me, I literally went through closets and drawers and my pantry and my cleaning supplies and my everything one by one by one and decided what I was keeping and what I wasn't. And I was already living super small, way smaller than most people in the US. And I still couldn't handle all of the stuff. It was so overwhelming. I can't even imagine someone that lives in, say, a 3,000 square foot home and all of the closets of stuff that they have and the excess of dishes and Tupperware and Christmas decorations. And I mean, once again, guys, I'm not judging you. I'm not saying you have to live in 160 square feet like I do. But what I am saying is I know because I, in 160 square feet, have this issue. I know you're hanging on to things that you don't need. I know that there's things in your life you haven't used in the last 12 months that you're holding on to because you believe you will use it in the future. So I don't know. I think the best way to talk about how this relates to the law of attraction is really just to circle back around to the conversation of that scarcity mindset is causing resistance from receiving more, but it's also affecting you on a mental level. It's affecting your happiness, your joy. Every time you have to organize something, every time you have to clean something, every time someone else in your house makes a mess and you have to see it or deal with it or walk around it, it's stressful. It affects us. It shifts our energy. And when we think about how the whole way that things work in life, when we're talking about the law of attraction, everything is energy. And every vibration that we put out is met with its match. So every negative feeling, every negative thought is met with its match. So the more negativity that we have related to our stuff, the more negativity we're attracting. You know, Dan, my fiance, is really good about collecting things. And he is definitely one of those people that hangs on to stuff thinking he'll use it in the future. Typically, he hangs on to things for woodworking projects. So he hangs on to random pieces of wood and logs and strangeness that he thinks he'll turn into some artistic piece of something someday. But he also has a tendency to like leave piles of things in places. And he thinks if it's a pile, it's organized. If it's stacked, it's organized. And to me, I'm a very minimalist. I feel like, oh, everything needs to have a place. It doesn't live on the countertop. It shouldn't live on the countertop if it's not decorative. If it doesn't have a place, we shouldn't be keeping it. That's tricky in 160 square feet. But I will say that I'm pretty good about organizing my own things. But Dan owns things that I'm not going to throw out or organize for him. But I'm constantly, I'll use the word bugged by the things he leaves sitting around. And so it's not even my stuff, it's his stuff that's bugging me. But it bugs me because I can see it. It bugs me because I feel like our house is messy. And all of this adds negativity to my life. So I'm not saying that that's Dan's fault. That's my issue. But I am saying that I think this is a topic that our listeners can relate to. I know for certain there's things that you can get rid of. I know you can make space for things in your life. I know how freeing it feels to get rid of things. And when I say get rid, you could sell it on eBay or on Mercari or Poshmark. You could donate it. You could throw it away if it has no value. But I will caution you on one thing. Don't hang on to things thinking you're going to sell it. If you're not going to sell it, get rid of it. And if you list it for sale and it's not selling, get rid of it. Because I ran into that issue in downsizing also. I listed a whole bunch of stuff online. I moved it all to the spare bedroom so that it was out of the way. I knew, okay, these are the things that I'm selling. And then it just sat in the spare bedroom. And so it was this room of mess that I could close the door to that was stuff that I was hanging on to because I was like, oh, it's worth money. It's going to sell. Don't put yourself in that situation. If it's not selling, it's not selling. So drop the price or get rid of it.
You know, I used to want to recoup some money for anything that I wanted to get rid of that had some value. And over time, there are still some things that I sell, but I have shifted a little bit. And what I like to do now is and part of this comes from Marie Kondo, take a minute to appreciate the thing and the joy that it brought me. But then I take a minute to imagine it blessing the life of somebody else in the way it blessed me. And I am better able to donate it at that point. When I think about the joy it's going to bring somebody else, that brings me more joy than in most cases than hanging on to something and hoping that I can get my $25 back or whatever. Because I feel like that's a toss up too. People are not necessarily always willing to pay what something is worth new. And
Oh,
so
rarely.
the mental energy of selling and negotiating and showing up, and like, it's, with a few exceptions, it's just not worth it to me anymore. And I get a really good feeling out of imagining how excited somebody's going to feel about finding that thing at a thrift store. Lots of times I think about maybe a single mom who has to go back to work, and she stumbles upon, a nice handbag or a nice pair of shoes and something that she couldn't normally afford. And I like to think, if she found this at the thrift store because I donated it instead of selling it on Craigslist or whatever, just think how that would bless her life. So I am totally in the camp of not trying to sell things anymore.
I love that positivity that you put on that. I think it's amazing because the items that you're donating probably get so much more love than they would have just sitting on a closet shelf, not being used. Even if it's something of value, especially if it's something of value. Like you said, there's people out there who can't afford a name brand pair of jeans or a name brand handbag or a name brand pair of shoes. And to be able to find it at a thrift store for pennies on the dollar, it probably would be incredible and make their day and be an item that they would absolutely love and appreciate and get compliments on. And it could be life-changing for someone, where when we just hang on to it, it's just weight. It's weight on us. It's interesting because when I decided to move tiny, I used to own quite a few handbags, and I had downsized before several years prior, but I still had probably 3 or 4 that I was hanging on to. And I finally only kept one. I thought, okay, I only use one a day. I only need one. So I kept one. And I just recently for Christmas got a second one. And I am going through this turmoil of, okay, now I'm not using the other one, but I love it. Do I get rid of it? I really don't need 2 handbags. But I found myself in that place again. And it's funny how when you do get rid of things, how quickly and easily you replace them. It's really easy to fill space when you make the space. But, that's kind of how the universe works. When you make space, the universe blesses you. But there's that piece too. I mean, this is not the action item, but there's the piece of get in the habit of when you buy something, throw something out. Like, instead of just adding to what you have, use it to replace something that you have. If you buy a new pair of shoes, get rid of a pair of shoes.
Yes, I love that.
Trade it out, trade up. So I'm a firm believer in that. But yeah, folks, my house is so small. We literally have one cupboard that's like, I haven't measured it, but it's probably about 8 inches tall and maybe 18 inches across. And all of our dishes fit in that one cupboard. All of the cups, all of the plates, all of the bowls. And if it doesn't fit in that cupboard, there's no place for it. And so, like I said, I do have some collectible items in storage because I am working towards my next home that's a little bit bigger. But at the end of the day, if you're not using it, you don't need it. And if you don't need it and you're hanging on to it, you're creating that weight for yourself. And if the reason that you're hanging on to it is because you believe you're going to use it someday, then you are creating the resistance, telling the universe, look, when the day comes that I need these things, I don't believe you that you will replace it. I don't trust you that you will replace it. And so all of that is a negative vibration. So I think we've kind of exhausted this topic. I think listeners probably get that we're saying, hey, declutter, make space, downsize, simplify your life. And whatever that means to you is what it means to you. We don't expect you to change the size of your home. Just change the weight of what you're carrying. So with that being said, that leads me to our action item. And I'm going to encourage our listeners to clean out one closet this week. It could be your bedroom closet. It could be your pantry. It could be your coat closet. It could be a closet in a child's bedroom. If it's easier to get rid of the kids' stuff than your stuff, then that's fine. But I am going to encourage you to do it this week. Don't wait. It will feel amazing. It will feel incredible. You'll realize how many things you have that you don't need. And that's the funny thing about closets, because we don't see the stuff, we forget what we have. And it's not until you start digging it apart that you're like, oh my gosh, I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff I forgot about. That happens to me all the time. I'll buy an extra mascara or something because I got it on sale or something. So I'll put the extra mascara in a basket on top of a shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget that I have an extra mascara. So when I need more mascara, I go buy another mascara. And then one day I pull that basket down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. I just bought one of these. I had one already. I do that all the time because out of sight, out of mind. So it will feel good to go through what you have, to declutter, to make space, to let go, to donate, to bless somebody's life, and to tell the universe, look, I do trust that when I need more, you will bring it to me. And you won't just replace what I have, you'll replace it with something far better. And that's the truth, because the jeans will be in style when you replace them instead of the old style that you're hanging on to.
That's right.
Adria, any additional thoughts or comments on this topic?
The only thing I can think of is for those that adhere to the philosophy of feng shui and the way that the energy moves through your space, the less stuff you have, the more freedom the energy has to. And I'm not an expert on that topic, but it is stifling to a lot of things. So there's that way to look at things too.
You know, when things are behind closed doors, meaning in a cupboard or a drawer or something, I don't know that it affects you as the same way that it does when you can see your stuff. But the way that our minds work, if we have a lot of stimulation because there's a lot of things around us, it can actually make us feel stressed. It can be hard to focus. So simply by organizing or cleaning off countertops and putting things away where they belong, finding a space for things, that alone can be considered part of the declutter and can be good mentally. And I didn't say this on the action item, but I meant to. So I'm going to add to the action item. Don't just clean out a closet this week. Clean out a closet and get rid of anything you haven't used in the last 12 months.
I love it.
If it hasn't been used in the last 12 months, you're not keeping it. You can sell it, you can donate it, you can gift it, you can throw it away, but don't hang on to it because you think you're going to use it in the future. So that's this week. We do have a winner. Our winner is Gummy Bussin.
Cute.
Gummy Bussin left us a review on Apple Podcasts, actually a little while ago. It's been up there for a while. Thank you, Gummy Bussin. You're our winner of a custom theme bracelet. So send us an email at hello@attractitwithease.com. Tell us your theme word for the year. Give us your address. We'll make you a custom theme bracelet. Adria, why don't you share with our listeners what I'm talking about when I say winners, bracelets, all of that?
Yes, every week we're going to draw a name from those people who have submitted reviews of our podcast on the various websites. And the winner from the drawing gets a bracelet, a custom bracelet with their theme word of the year. We talk about these theme words in episode 1. So
that's
go back
right.
And listen if you haven't.
And if you're new here and you haven't listened to episode 1, all 10 episodes 1 through 10 are our Jumpstart module. They're designed to go together. There's a workbook that you can download for free from our website, attractitwithease.com. And these 10 episodes are designed to help you jumpstart your ability to manifest all of your desires. So go back and download all 10 episodes 1 through 10, and download your workbook. And again, listeners, if you have questions or comments, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. We appreciate you. And Adria, it was fun. Thank you for another good week. I look forward to talking to you next week.
It's always a pleasure. I had a great time.
Thanks. Bye-bye.